What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Panthers Nation Network. I don't. What do y'all want from me? How do y'all want me to start this? You tell me how y'all want to start. I don't.
Let's state the obvious, man. We knew this was coming. We knew we could not have been surprised. I mean, we held out longer than what I thought we would. On the bright side, like we at this point where we just getting more victories at this point. No victories are coming on the field. Let's just be happy that we came out alive and healthy, I guess.
Yeah, if that's what you want to call it, JB, I'll let you go.
No, I just say, it was less than 50 points. We got in that 20, under 30 range. We still looked ugly on the offensive side of the ball. The defense was out there too long. And, the usual is the usual.
See, but I would have rather, honestly, it have been a blowout. I don't like that there was hope at one point because that's what makes it more aggravating.
No. I didn't need it to be a blowout because of my group chats. I needed them boys to hold that down, and they kept it close long enough to where couldn't nobody say nothing to me in the group chat. So I was cool. I'm like, you know what? Hey, bet I can take it. I knew he was gonna lose. I'm like, shit,
But see, a group chat message is temporary. Frank Reich's continued deterioration of the franchise.
That was happening anyway. I can't control that. Yeah. I can control that group chat though. If I can keep the pace of the group chat down, and I kept it down to a minimum, I had to joke my way out of it a lot. But we survived.
Yeah. There's so much not to even talk about. I mean, the proof is in the pudding that we said week over week. You saw the turnout at the bank. I've seen all of the online pictures of the tailgates. Looked like it was a Cowboys home game. I mean, the product on the field reminds you of the bottom of your shoe. It is what it is. We are exhausted at this point of defending anything Panther Nation. We are more infuriated by the fact that our ownership isn't as angry as we are, so it seems. He's yet to come out to make any sort of statement or even show he's even concerned about the state of affairs. So what do we have to get hype about right now?
Nothing. I mean, it culminated in the fact that Jerry Jones decided to choose this week to give Jimmy Johnson the Hall of Honor, Ring of Fame, whatever they call theirs, at our stadium. Like that was egregious.
And they got enough fans in the building to where like they got a round of applause for it too. Like
standing O. That's right.
On Keep Pounding Day too. It was Keep Pounding Day, no less. And they subjected Greg to that. I was so sad for him. What kind of torture is that to make Greg watch that stuff? Bro. And you could hear it in his voice. I love hearing Greg comment on our games because you can hear him like it's really
disgusting, bro.
He really wants us to be good, and he knows he like dances around the issues, but still like brings them up to the point where he had like a great point about Bryce, and we can we'll get into it. But he said what we've been saying, what you were saying is that you cannot properly evaluate this kid based off of our team, and we can dive into all the rhetoric that's being thrown around Twitter as well. And I'll say it point blank: no rookie quarterback, hell, I'd say about 20 quarterbacks in the NFL right now would not be able to produce consistently and enough to where this team wouldn't be in the hole it's in right now.
No, Josh Dobbs could not. Josh Dobbs couldn't even.
No,
with this offense.
No,
nothing with this, man. Like it's terrible. I mean, but we knew we've known this for a while, but it's just like I hate that we have to keep rehashing this same subject matter because I'll say this: it's not a knock to C.J. Stroud that we don't think he wouldn't be successful here. What we're really saying is that nobody should be subjected to what we're having to play out there. Like nobody should have to play with Zavala as a starting left guard. Nobody should not have to run out there with Jonathan Mingo as a starting receiver. Like we're saying, nobody deserves this. I can't think. I mean, maybe some of my worst enemies at worst, but like that's about it. I can't think of a quarterback.
Nobody deserves that. Well, nobody deserves to play for this coaching staff. I think that's the biggest issue we have. We put this young man and some of our young stars in harm's way, and that's 100% honest. Bryce may not, from this year to next year, you may not see a great elevation. Let's be 100% honest. We don't have the pieces in place. We don't even have the people at the helm that we even trust to even do that. Because from what I can tell, I don't think Temple's going to make that big of a change next year. Unless y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
I have no clue.
I mean, I was really debating for point of dexterity. We're recording this Monday night. I was debating waiting, an extra day, maybe see what happened, or at least to see what happened with his press conference. The fact that he's speaking at the press conference, I mean, that's what he was saying within the press conference shows that he's not going anywhere, at least I think, until the end of the season. Because none of the games that are going forward are against winning teams. They're not games like, yeah, you should probably win those games, but it's not going to be enough to save your resume, even if you just win those games. And I don't think it's necessarily big enough hits unless you get blown out. But if you get like 20-point loss to the Titans, yeah, that should be fired right there.
Theoretically,
which absolutely could happen.
You can lose to 20 points. You lose by 20 points to the Titans.
Absolutely could. Yeah. If Derrick Henry just decides that, hey, maybe maybe the city's kind of down at me a little bit. Why not go put a 190-yard game on my belt?
Be able to run the ball. Oh, hey, look, if Deshaun Williams and Shot Tuttle in the interior, that's going to open up. And we'll get back to that because I got some qualms with Deshaun Williams and the defense in general because they do a lot right, but there were some things we saw on Sunday. Obviously, the attrition sets in, but there were some things they could not do. But when you talk about Bryce Young, and the conversation's not okay, he wouldn't be able to produce at this point, but you're right. It's that we should not have been going for a quarterback that we thought this guy, all that was put up that he could be able to elevate this team to that next level. He's the most ready mentally to do so, and we can work around his physical attributes to do so. CJ Stroud, we've clearly seen, has the physical attributes to do so. He doesn't have to think while he's playing. He's just playing. We should not have been swinging for the fences to trade up all of this to get a guy that we thought could put us in the playoff conversation right off the bat. That's a gross miscalculation and a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a misjudgment of our roster. Yeah, and that's been the biggest thing. I think stripping down some of the pieces it's some of the guys that you let go that could contribute for you right now today. It's this is really the funniest thing. That like even outside of guys like DJ Moore, I said today, I'm like, hell, if you put Robbie Anderson out there right now, or
playing like James
Chosen, and I don't know which one is
Robbie. It's one of those three.
Yeah, so whichever of the names that you choose to pick, like if you put him out there, he would be more of an asset to this team right now. Well, if you put Shaw back out there, he would be more of an asset to the team right now. And I'm only using those two guys just because they were guys that were here previously. I'm not really worried about any guy that we didn't have. I'm saying that at least out of those guys that were Matt Rule guys, at least the talent evaluation on his end was better to the point where we at least had some type of production. This right here, I can't tell you what we're supposed to be able to do with this group because Chark didn't have a catch, didn't have a target either.
But, Shantice, you're looking at that too from a lens of what the coaches we had in place were here, how they chose to run those offense and those schemes. What we've got here from a coaching standpoint is nowhere near, and I hate to say it from a schematic standpoint, it looks night and day, and it looks absolutely worse. And I hate to say that. I hate the guy out in Nebraska. I have no love for him. But at least in some of these instances, we were competitive. We can't deny that part.
Yeah.
We were close in these games. We lost by 3 points. We lost by 10 points. We were in the game in the third and fourth quarters. To your point, we were stretching the field. Same line, right? Essentially the same line. We're talking the same language. So whatever happened between that and here, where we thought we were getting these gurus, these AARP cards haven't done anything for us. And this hodgepodge coaching staff that we put together from what we thought was going to be, we were like, okay, there's a nice mix of old and new. It's not working. It's like a bad batch of Kool-Aid. It's ridiculous.
And you know what else is probably the most egregious thing is during the talent evaluation period where you're looking at the roster that you're going to be the incumbent to. You know what they do well. You've seen it on tape. You proceed to do the exact opposite for the entire season. Only was it yesterday as we're recording this. Only was it yesterday that you decided to go, hey, look, Bryce under center, power run. Let's see what happens.
And you know what's crazy? It worked. Miles Sanders looked like an actual NFL running back on Sunday.
Sanders looked better. Chuba looked the same.
We knew what he was going to do.
Right. But you at least got to get something out of Miles Sanders that we hadn't seen all year.
And that's runs that net more than 5 yards. Like, that get past the line of scrimmage and actually break through to the second level. We hadn't seen that from him all season long. And what's worse about what you just said is that it's not like he was doing something incredibly different in Indianapolis. Like, he had a similar system with the running back that he had and with some of the wideouts that he had. It wasn't a different offense. Like, I understood trying to bring in this Steichen-esque kind of offense to a point, but what you were doing in Indianapolis, yes, it didn't get you enough to keep your job, but there was a whole lot going on in Indy that was going to make sure that you didn't get your job. And I believe you when you say play call to the point where you can get this back, where you are able to call a game. You were able to call one. Calling a game and winning a game are two completely different things. And the success that you might have garnered to be able to put you in this position does not alone guarantee your safety in this position. So to keep using that, like every week, his PR continues to get, his press, ability continues to go down. And I'm saying that as someone who's in the building with him and have heard, and I hear him give incredibly educated answers. But when he said the thing about the offensive line playing like much better, that's just not true. You can say what you want about injuries, and like we talked about this off camera. I understand why people are upset with Chandler Zavala, but I'll be the first. I don't know what anyone was expecting. I don't know what anybody was expecting.
He just got back in the lineup. He just got back in the lineup, and
it's Micah Parsons. So I don't know why people are choosing this game to go all in on him when I don't know what anyone was expecting.
I just don't want my.
Well, I think people were expecting.
Neither do I. But if it was last week, or if it was, if it's this coming week against the Titans, all they got is Jarrell Casey or Jeffrey Simmons, or like even the Bears. I mean, they were still getting some pressure after him. If it was a team like I'm trying to think of a team that has little to no pass rush. I mean, they all can have one against us, but like it's the Cowboys. Like we knew this was going to happen, and Dan Quinn is one of the smarter defensive coordinators in the NFL, if not one of the better ones. He knew which mismatches to play. He knew to put Micah Parsons right there because putting him up against, Taylor Moton is not going to hit you nearly as many.
It wouldn't help you at all.
No. So I understand where it looked bad, but I don't know what anyone is expecting to do in that situation.
I think the one thing that we have to really just be honest about is the fact that we know that our roster was not built in the last 5 years to sustain mediocrity from a coaching staff. Like they have to be coached up. Like our roster has always been that. We don't have those breakout stars that can just come in and kind of mitigate the game with their talent. We don't have that type of roster. So to your point, Jack, that you made, that you saw what the success was for us over the last couple of years. You're bringing in a brand new quarterback behind this line. You should have probably started the year with that and then branched out to all of these other things that you would have wanted to do. I will say that. I will also say with that same breath is whatever it is from a regression standpoint, and I'm not going to call names, we know Icky, but just across the line in general, whatever that is, and we were supposed to have one of the best offensive line coaches that we hired in camping, something's not translating, and I don't know what that is. And I don't know whether it's Thomas Brown's schemes or the line not buying into Campion's coaching. I don't know what that part is, because that to me is really, really nerve-wracking in that every week it is the same porous line in the same porous situations, and we have yet to find a solution. And I don't know why we haven't gotten that part right. Like that part is just a day-to-day practice, in and out meeting, tape, that kind of repetition that you would think you would see some sort of evolution in how they mesh and how they block. But you don't see that. It's the same thing. Week in and week out. Prices hike, somebody's in the backfield on his ankles, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And what was it? Micah got 2 sacks, 10 rushes yesterday on him, and they left him in there to get killed for the rest of the game when we got down. I mean, that's another thing we can talk about. Why are you leaving Bryce in there for the entire game? At that point, when you're down in the fourth quarter, under 10 minutes, why would you have him in the game?
That you make your point first, and we can circle back to that.
I was gonna say, at least with the offensive line, I mean, it's all the interior. Like it's Corbett, Bozeman, and whoever the left guard is. They have these same issues every week. And like you said, JB, whatever's not translating between the schematics to the coaching staff to how it's applied to the players, bro. I mean, it makes me. We believe Bradley Bozeman was a great pickup last year. We thought he was going to be solidify that center position that we needed solidified since Ryan Khalil was, left us. We don't have any answers. Even Austin Corbett, we thought Corbett was a solidified right guard. We thought that was the answer. We finally thought we had our group. And even with Christensen being out, like one guy being out of that
shouldn't affect
rotation,
you that much.
Should not do it like
I
this.
still am. I'm giving Corbett still a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Still coming off of that injury for however long he was out, the whole offseason. The last 2-3 games, or I think it was the last game of last year, and then the entire offseason, and then half of this year. Like I don't expect him to be 100%, But then, yeah, also, if he's not 100%, like, which he clearly isn't, he went down yesterday and it took him a while to get up, stop putting him in. And it's going to speak to that Bryce thing. You want to put, obviously, your best guys forward, but when you're in these situations, in these juggernaut games, obviously, you want to put your best foot forward. But, like, yeah, for Bryce Young, I was that same way, JB. I was like, why is he still in the ballgame right now? After that, it was that late fourth quarter sack. He got hit, and it was the 2 in the row. And I'm like, all right, take him out of the game. We're not gonna find the deficit is too large at this point for the time you have left, and it goes back to what we were saying, JB. Like you were talking just here a minutes ago. I mean, even putting him in at the beginning, like, still put him in a bad spot. And I'm at the point now, like, obviously they said they're not gonna bench him, but you're gonna have a losing record no matter what's happening. You have no chance for the playoffs. You have no chance for anything like that.
That's right.
What really is the argument to keep him, other than just keeping his routine up, letting him play through a full NFL season? You're gonna get to some of these points where when you start playing, like when we have to face the Falcons and the Saints again, when you have to face the Jags, when you have to face some of these teams with great pass rushes, you're putting him in compromising situations and blowing his confidence too.
Yeah, I mean, he looks dejected.
He does.
I see nothing positive from the kid, at least from I mean, there's nothing to be positive about. If I was out there getting hit on the first snap,
with 2 seconds it took. That was the average time for the pressures on Sunday. 2 seconds.
Brother, his mental has got to be broken, and that's the biggest worry I think anybody has to have is, like, mentally, where is he at? And he may be a mentally tough kid. Maybe we shouldn't try to make him be this tough, because this is ridiculous. I'm like, this is bad.
Well,
it's just
when nobody's gonna. It's like going to work and your boss yelling at you every day. Like, who wants to go to work for that? Like, let's be 100% honest. How many times are you going to work and you want to hear your boss every day complain about something you did and you thought you did a pretty good job? Like, every day for 17 weeks straight. And on top of that, you go out.
To build on that analogy, you go there and every single one of your coworkers is spitting spitballs at you the minute you get to your desk, and they're lighting your papers on fire, and then you get yelled at.
I was gonna say you go out to your car every day and it gets towed. Every day you park in the same spot, and the employee park spot, and you walk out to your car and your car gets towed every day, and you're paying for it to get out of the impound every day for 17 weeks. Nobody wants to go through that, and I think for him, he's talking to the vets, right? Brian Burns has been here 5 years and hasn't had a winning season. What do you think Brian Burns is saying to him off-site? What do you think Shaq Thompson and these guys are trying to say to him now? Like, dude, it's going to be a long road, and I'm not going to be here to help you. Like, I'm about to bolt, so I'm just letting you know this is what's going on. Because there's no way Brian Burns is going to stay. There would be no reason for him to stay. So you start talking to vets around here and what they've seen and how we've deteriorated from an organizational standpoint, let alone the feeling inside the stadium, the feedback you're getting from the audience, like that as well is feeding into his whole mental and his psyche. It's a disgusting situation, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it is a real problem, and it's going to take drastic moves for it to bring it back somewhat full circle to us to even have a keep pounding sort of mantra. Because right now, I don't see any positive other than just to get to the bank, let's get drunk, let's watch the other team. Like, that's basically what it is.
And but Tepper knows that, and he knew, like, the fact that the tickets, the difference in the ticket prices, it was $170 for those Cowboy tickets. Those were nosebleeds. You go for the Bucks or the Falcons, it's like $15 right now, because he knows how much Cowboys fans were going to come to this game. He knows how much they were going to pay for that game. That's where I get shady about it. I'm like, really? Like, if you're going to sell low tickets, sell them consistently. Don't upcharge just because you know other fans are going to come and pay for these tickets.
Nah, I got money to make. I still got bills to pay.
He don't.
He's losing money. He's losing money.
Oh, he absolutely is.
He's losing money. But we've got a bigger problem, and I think that we have to see him do something sooner rather than later, and it has to be a big splash. Like, Fitterer has got to go. Like, he should have been fired yesterday. He totally should have been fired. First and foremost, Fitterer should have been gone. Then this whole hot seat of right, I guess we have to muster it up for the next 7 weeks until the end of the season. But Fitterer should have been fired after yesterday's debacle, the way we looked yesterday. Period.
I think the Titans game would honestly be if Will Levis comes out there and pitches a 120, 115 QBR rating.
I thought Tyson Badgett doing a number on you would have been enough.
You thought, but
exactly.
You would have thought. And I told you though, I told it like Tepper's patience and his time with Rule told me, if anything, that he is willing to give people way too many chances. And he likes to say, "Oh, I'm not going to stand for mediocrity. I'm going to be efficient. We're going to not stand for any of this." He did it for 3-4 years, and you can say what you want about Matt Rule and it obviously doesn't look like it does now, but it was still nothing close to mediocre.
At least, at the very least, and I hate that we're having to talk positive
I know,
about Matt Rule.
like that's
exactly.
Like,
Shantice, that's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. Go ahead.
Because like, I don't want to misconstrue anything. Like that Rule era wasn't good either.
No,
like it wasn't the worst.
It wasn't this bad.
It wasn't
this bad.
That's the messed up part. It wasn't this bad, but we at least saw our identity of a team that at least play hard, that at least had some type of grit, and from at least a roster building perspective, there were guys that you saw potential in. It was like, okay, like, all right, I can see the vision with this guy. I can see what they're trying to do with him here, and guys there, like, even the free agents they brought in. I mean, Robbie Anderson's first year, it was very productive.
It was.
I mean, other guys like Frankie Louisville who ended up being productive like down the line. Like any of the guys that they brought in this year, the only guy that's productive is Adam Thielen. I can't think of another guy. Like Von Bell missed some time, but I mean
Troy Bell, be the big
Troy Hill, yeah,
or Troy Hill. I mean, yeah,
Troy Hill's been a great pickup, and I would like to see him come back next year.
But
like,
also, you then cannot get in a position where you're putting him on CeeDee Lamb 1-on-1 in the red zone. I mean, that's just
I didn't
rude.
like that play call. I didn't like that play call. I think at that point, bro, you're going man coverage. You got your feet are planted in the end zone. You're going man-to-man coverage with CeeDee Lamb. I'm like, all right,
with your veteran cornerback, like Dante wasn't hurt at that point. Like you still had him in there. I get with CJ being out, that and then Boodle or whatever his name is. Like that, we went from signing, and that's what's really upset me about Fitterer. Is that, like, yeah, he had some busts along the way, but at that same time he was having the bust. He was picking up Hassan Reddick. He was picking up Stephon Gilmore. He was picking up guys on both sides of the ball that were impactful. Now, you're getting DeMarco Boodle, whatever the hell his name is. You're getting, like, these guys. You're getting Blake Martinez, who hasn't done any, like,
man.
How did you fall so far so fast?
Because you kept trading away draft picks. So you spent...
But that should have nothing to do with your free agency pickups.
What Stephon Gilmore was.
Well, we gave money away, Jack. We gave money away.
Yeah, Gilmore was a trade.
You gave Shot Tutter $20 million.
Yeah,
you gave Shot Tutter $20 million.
I agree with that, but I'm saying in terms of just the evaluation process. And
oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
like he went so far, and like now you're not even getting anybody even close to comparing to what he was able to pick up at that time in those deals he was making.
Hey, you didn't re-sign those guys.
I'm saying no, like you're not even making the first step. You could argue, oh yeah, like.
Well, Jack,
he's not even getting anybody
this
close.
This also goes to, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't even want to come play. I'm good.
Well, that's
like,
fair. That is fair.
Let's be 100% honest. Like, you're not getting the same look you were getting a year and a half, 2 years ago.
I agree with that.
If I am a mid-tier, fourth-year vet, kind of player, I'm going to go to at least where I can be competitive and potentially be in the playoffs. Wild card, Super Bowl run, whatever. You ain't looking at 85 South. You ain't looking at Mint Street right now. 100% honest. I mean, if anything, if you're looking at the NFC South, you mess around and go mess around with Baker. You can mess around and go mess around. At this point,
boy's productive.
You know what I'm saying? You can go down 85 South a little bit further and hit up Atlanta. So we're not the destination that we used to be, and that's what I'm saying. Tepper has taken us from a place to where we could attract talent, to where I can't see us even this offseason, even with a bag, getting potentially top tier, like right underneath kind of players. You know what I mean? We got an issue now. We got cap room, but that doesn't mean people gonna want to come get that bag.
And
the only hope you really have is that there's a young coach out there that is looking at Bryce Young and saying, "Look, hey, I can work with him.
Yes,
give me a chance."
A GM too.
Yeah, a young head coach and a GM that are willing to come in and say, "Look, Bryce is good enough for us to work with. We can build around this, and then see if you can throw bags at some of these free agents that going out there wide receiver. Because not only do you have to draft a receiver, you're gonna have to sign
without a doubt.
You got to sign one too,
and you're gonna need to sign some linemen. Some really good linemen.
Like, because again, even once you go through another coaching change, which I'm hoping is gonna happen. We got to know hopefully they'll know that, hey, look, these guys on this roster currently don't fit what we want to do. We got to start, getting some guys out of here and getting our guys in the building. And don't do what Frank Reich and those guys did and try to fit a square peg into a round hole. And now, we have the offense that we have.
And that's what's so upsetting about it. And the fact that you brought it up, because I've been trying to avoid it, is the fact that we have one of the, number 2, I think, in cap space coming up this offseason. Mm-hmm. And we're going to just we're going to be in this GM war of not either going to be in GM no man's land to the point where we won't be able to make these deals as fast as everybody else is, because we're not going to have the people in place to do so, or we're not going to want to make deals because you're not going to know who the coach is going to be, who the GM is going to be. So we're going to sit on all this money, do nothing with it, and then just let it kind of fall through our fingers.
No, we're going to sign Davis Mulroney from Wofford State.
Yeah.
Who played D3 ball and was the all pro lineman for the D3 whatever Super Bowl that they do. But we just do this. We do this to ourselves, and we don't have a path forward. And that's the biggest problem I have right now is we don't have a clear vision. Scott Fitterer's vision ain't working. So let's just go ahead and round that on up.
Yeah.
Scott Fitterer's vision ain't working, and you're not going to be able from a coaching staff. And here's what I would love to be. And Jack, you've got a little bit more experience being on site a lot and being at the facilities a lot. What is the temperature? How are the players even? Like, what do you see from a player-coach interaction? Like, to me, if I look at the sideline, it don't look like it's real cool. It looks like everybody's just being tolerable of each other, right? It's not a whole lot of, trying to boost everybody up, or at least a camaraderie amongst the troops, because they look dejected as well as Bryce does.
It seems like a ticking time bomb. I mean, in the locker rooms, because we get to talk to them before practice starts in the locker room, so they're not exhausted. It hasn't been a long day. Like it's 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock when they're getting ready to go out to practice. It's quiet. There's there ain't no music playing. There's like maybe 5 or 6 people in there at a time. If they're either other people are getting, they're at training, or, they're getting taped up, or they're taking a shower. Like, they're just kind of there, just kind of sitting there talking. And at practice, it's funny. At practice, they take, like, the way they have it set up, you have it where the bubble is hiding the defensive backs and the linebackers. You can't see them from where the media are allowed to stand. Mm-hmm. You see the linemen are front and center, and it's normally pretty quiet amongst the coaches and players. Now, when Tepper and Nicole were there, it was very, very tense. Incredibly tense and very weird, to be honest. And you see that a lot. Like there's not like what we saw in training camp out there. Like kind of the fire, the energy, kind of the playing around. That's all gone. The practices are very just kind of running from what we're allowed to see, at least.
Sure.
Because we're only allowed.
But that's telling though. But Jack, that's telling though, because typically if you're going to practice, you don't want to come in off of a cappuccino and classical music, right? You want to have some Young Thug blaring in the background. You want your boy to be hyping you up, getting you ready for practice, to get ready for the day's work. At least from my experiences and being around practice facilities, that's what it's been. So that's telling that it's quiet. It's telling that it seems kind of a machine-like, calculated kind of like practice, like let's get in and get out, right? So you're not getting that. And that's my point, right? The vibe of this organization has shifted so much in the last 3 years that Tepper himself has to even see the change. He has to be aware of this.
I mean, he inherited a playoff team. He inherited a team that was 1 year removed from the playoffs, and on pace years to make another playoff run. Had it not been for
it was weird because he pulled the trigger too. It's crazy because the guys he pulled the trigger quickly on are the guys I just can't understand. Like, I mean. Now, y'all, I mean, by the time Rivera got fired, I had kind of been off of Rivera for a little while anyway, because I thought he mishandled some things.
His voice was still.
We knew it was time.
Yeah, I kind of knew it was time. But when it came down to, obviously, our quarterback at the time, I thought that, all right, yeah, he got hurt in the middle of 2018. That happened. Cool. Rushed him back. Got him out there for the preseason 2019. Breaks his foot. I was like, all right. I think we still need to give him another chance on the last year of that deal to at least let him see if he can still be something that we can move forward with, or maybe we didn't move into a different direction. But I didn't think going the Teddy B way was the right way. But all right, cool. Teddy B is here. Teddy B plays relatively well. you jump ship off of that. I'm like, well, you haven't had a quarterback play better than Teddy B since he's left. And you could have kept him for another year and just let him be the stopgap guy that he was supposed to be, and then went into the draft the following year. But again, you kept missing on that. So you keep trading for first round busts. Now we're here. Now we have to trade more capital to get to that first overall pick. You take a quarterback that I truly don't think Frank Wright wanted, because I mean he wanted a veteran quarterback at first. I don't believe Bryce Young was his guy during the process. I never believed that. They can report whatever they reported, but I'm gonna be honest with you. The way he was eye-goggling C.J. Stroud at that pro day, I'm just not of the belief that Bryce Young was his guy during that process. So I mean,
I don't know. I kept going back and forth through the whole time, and I could never tell you which way or the other. But I will say that, like, I had seen Frank Reich in so many different instances. Like, you saw him on the sidelines, you see him in press events and press conferences and, like, different things like that. And I never saw, like, that kind. And you don't see it at all now. You don't see, like, really any excitement or any fire from him very often. Like, sometimes when he's a little angry, you see it once every so often. But I never really see any sort of fire from him. The only time I ever saw any sort of fire or, like, oh, like, this is not who I thought this guy was when at, like, the draft party, like, at the stadium. Like, after the pick came up and he, like, came right on stage and he was, like, I mean, he was, like, incredibly fired up. And you can say what you want about, oh, it's an act, he's doing that because they're out there. No one was telling him he had to, like, go and hype everybody up. You know, like, Rivera that's not something the way he would act out in a fan event like that. You know, especially a lot of the guys, like, that have that kind of more stoic demeanor. No one's forcing him to do that kind of stuff. So I do think he did want Bryce Young. I think he might have wanted some other guys maybe more, but I don't think he was against Bryce Young.
I don't think he was against it. Hey fam, it's just too many signs. It's too many signs for me that feel like, this was I wasn't completely sold. Like, there were still guys that I'm like, if he had his way, I believe he would have went that way. I mean, if he had his way, I don't believe he would have. I don't believe he would have traded up at all.
I don't think so at all. I really don't think we would have traded at all. And I honestly don't even know if Fitterer wanted to trade up.
Oh, so that came from up.
I think it was Tepper who wanted to trade up. I mean, think about it as a businessman. He knows he needs to make a splash. There's no market draw to Charlotte at all. That's all we talked about in the offseason. There's nothing that was bringing. There was nobody putting butts in the seats. There was nobody.
But Jack,
but there wasn't.
Let me stop there.
But in between, after Steve Wilkes left.
No. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to go back to kind of a hybrid of what you and Shantice were both just talking about. Shantice, I think we said this before. Maybe I was talking to my buddy in my text chat. We already had signed Andy Dalton. Right. Before we even traded up, we had already signed Andy Dalton. So if it was a vet quarterback, right, we were just going for our new era quarterback. We had already signed Andy Dalton. We still had DJ Moore. Miles Sanders, I don't think was signed yet. We still had Chuba. Like, we had the makings of giving Andy Dalton a Sam Darnold chance for cheap. Yeah. With all the cap space coming into this year. Not saying I'm mad that we got Bryce. I'm just telling you the scenario where we were. Right? So to your point, I do think Tepper had a lot of influence on the trade up. Right? I do think that was the case. I won't deny that. I will say I think he left it up to Fitterer and the powers that be to put the package together.
Absolutely.
So they said so he said, all right, I want the number one pick. What do we have to do? Put it together. And so he put together these scenarios, and the Bears were like, no. We want him. And in order to get him and to get this pick, we want him and X, Y, and Z. Right? That's how I believe it went. I could be totally wrong, but Tepper still had to sign off on it. He was probably like, okay, it's the number one pick. But we already had that scenario of a mid-level vet quarterback. And if we could have, to be quite frank, we could have kept PJ. We could have had Andy Dalton and PJ.
I mean, that's
what we could have had.
That's where I do think that Fitterer, like, I don't think he would have ever made active choices to, like, not do what needed to be done. But I think from what you talk about with the guys that he were putting together, we kept saying about it, like, is this who really you're going to give to a rookie quarterback? Like, you're going to trade away your number one wide receiver. You're going to put these guys around him. Some of these guys that are a bit slower, they're, older, they're a bit more injury prone. You're going to give those guys maybe a little less reliable. like that's guys that a veteran could make look good. That's got, Hayden Hurst, DJ Chark, Adam Thielen are all guys that were playing with, obviously not veterans, but that type of quarterback and in that type of coaching style. And so that's where I'm like, I don't think that Fitterer was incredibly on board. And I don't disparage Tepper for, just giving it to Tepper or for Fitterer to do. That's his job. To trust Fitterer to be able to make the moves that you as an owner want. But that's where the disconnect, I think, came about.
Yeah, I guess my biggest disconnect would have always been breaking down the side of the ball that your rookie's going to have to play on
exactly.
and making it worse.
And then having no depth at the offensive line signing at that point in time. Like, not a single offensive line sign. Right. Obviously, getting Zavala in the draft is one thing, but that's a 5th-round draft pick. Like, you did nothing. There was a multitude of guys out there at offensive line that you could have showed up, that you could have gotten just at least for, backups.
Hey, man, it's just like, I like Brian Burns, but geez, I mean, from the production that we get, I would have sent them away to get that pick done. Because I know he was one of the guys that they were like, hey, look, you got to give us one of these cornerstone pieces. Like, so he's like, either got to be DJ, it's got to be Brian Burns, Derek Brown, or JC. You better pick one. And if you don't, all right. If you don't want to send if you didn't want to see Brian Burns, all right, well, send JC. He ain't played.
Yeah,
I love him, but again, he ain't played for us really. I mean, Derek Brown like the only guy I'm like,
you cannot.
I don't want to touch him.
The way he threw, what's his face down the other day?
Yeah,
I mean that if we didn't have Derek Brown, dude. We're sitting on losing by 40 points every day.
Yes,
every game.
Like he's probably like the sole reson why we don't get like completely.
Yes,
he's like single-handedly stopping most of the running attacks we're going up against. He's the reason why guys like some of these running backs aren't going off against us.
Yeah, I see people talk. I will say a lot of people don't understand what like a defensive tackle's real main responsibility is supposed to be.
Disruption. See,
Aaron Donald's an anomaly. You don't see too many guys like Aaron Donald. Guys like Aaron Donald, guys like John Randall that were great interior pass rushers.
Warren Sapp, that's different. Those are
different type of guys. Now Derek Brown's still elite, and the one thing we needed was an elite run stopper. And I remember Kawan Short was the last guy we had that was like that type. But like Derek Brown's game breaker type, game breaker-esque. You just don't get to see it because he's not playing on a good team.
No, and there's nobody there to scoop up the disruption that he's caused and make that tackle in the backfield off of the time and the frame that he's given him.
Like imagine like a Luke Keith playing behind Derek Brown right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you saw it with Kawan Short, but you imagine like you would have a greater appreciation for what he does if you have a linebacker like that.
That's why guys like KK, Coney Ely, Star Latulele, like they looked like and they were all pro defensive tackles because they were playing and they were able to make guys like Charles Johnson, like Thomas Davis, like Luke Kuechly look so much better, get those open lanes because they were causing all that disruption. Yep. It's what you see day in and day out, and it's what is so upsetting. And yeah, because at this point, Brian Burns, I know you're not 100%. We can tell, clearly. And you're doing more damage for yourself by playing not at 100%. And I know you're going to play, but, the production's not there. It's just not.
Brother, I need you to see it. I need you to...
It's that, too.
Please hold your value.
It's the injuries, but also, I think... it's a different defense. You know what I mean? And getting used to that and going through that. My thing with Brian Burns is it's easy for the Lions to know that he's our number one guy on the field, so they double team, triple team, run schemes at him all day. So the production's going to be out. Plus, he's not 100%. I agree with you, Shantice. If I would have most likely have gotten off of Brian Burns before DJ Moore. Because you're drafting their quarterback. You're drafting your future quarterback. Yeah. And so you're getting rid of your number one receiver. You're trying to tell me DJ Chark was going to be your number one? DJ Chark is non-existent. You're trying to tell me that Adam Thielen was going to be your number one. I call him the usual suspect. He's been our most consistent receiver all year. Even though yesterday I think he only got 50-something yards, 70-something yards or something like that. He didn't get a touchdown. Tommy Tremble got the touchdown, 3 targets.
Yeah. Tommy Tremble's been the most consistent wide receiver for Bryce Young. He's got three? He's got 4 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
On the season.
But that's the point. Like, for us to have an offensive-minded coach, where's the offense? Where's the offense? That's my problem.
The schemes are old. Everything's stale. Nothing looks. It resembles nothing.
And they try to say Thomas Brown. And Thomas Brown, he got shafted.
Yeah. He did.
Like, he got shafted. And you talked about the confidence of Bryce. What does he have confidence in? Who's calling the plays?
And that is what is so upsetting about the move for Thomas Brown, because Frank Reich doesn't understand what he is doing to both Thomas Brown and his career, how hard it is already for someone in his position with his resume to get a main line and a good, productive offensive coordinating job, and then to take the play calling away from him when he was producing just as poorly as you were. It's not like we, you know.
Like, man, when I saw the post, I think Sheena made a post about what Frank said in regards to Thomas Brown. I said, well, Frank must not see color then if he don't think that this just didn't ruin any type of chance he was going to get moving forward.
Eric Bieniemy has had consistent success as an offensive coordinator and still is not able to get his foot in the door for a head coaching gig. Right. He's just continued to be bounced around to different teams to be at that same level. And you think that that's not going to have like a huge impact. And then to go from being teary-eyed and giving him the game ball not 2 weeks beforehand, and then you take it. And now, granted, I will say, I guess the games in which it happened, the teams it happened against, and being the Colts and the Bears, weren't the best teams to have these kind of performances in. But then you're going to come out like, unless you put up 40 against the Titans next week, there's no reason why you should have done this. Because, yeah, it took you 17 plays to score 1 touchdown against the Cowboys.
But Jack, when the last time Frank Reich been in the end zone? I mean, it ain't like he lived in the end zone all.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There was no difference in what Thomas Brown was doing. The only difference you could perceive is that it was the two of our perceived lighter games on the schedule, in being the Colts and the Bears, that he underperformed with. It wasn't like he was underperforming against, the Vikings or some of the teams like that, what have you. That's what I'm saying, is that unless you could get a pass with the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys defense. Like, you have a leg to stand on. But if you put up 15 to 16 points against the Titans, like, I'm going to have real issues because you took an opportunity away from this man because you thought we weren't producing enough. And yet we'd scored 2 touchdowns in 45 possessions prior to the touchdown we scored on Sunday.
Yeah.
45 possessions.
Yes. We stink.
Yeah.
Yes. We smell like the gym locker room. Yeah, I mean, your gym locker. Yes.
I'm to the point now. Like, I mean, when you get to a certain point in the season, at least like, especially like with college teams, if you were like this bad, you would probably start playing younger guys or guys that hadn't gotten shots. You probably want to see what you have on the roster. Michael Strawn, who, I mean, he made the one big play against the Bears,
and was just
didn't get any opportunities.
Marset
still not getting any opportunities. The plays you're running for Adam Thielen, which, I mean, credit to Thielen, I appreciate the guy, but the plays you're running for him should not be ran for him. They should be going to more athletic guys.
LaVisca. Like you have finally had. I didn't even realize LaVisca was active. We heard nothing about it, and then he came in and had 2 targets, I think.
Yeah, nothing.
Another healthy scratch for TMJ.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he's asked to leave, and I think that they're just buying the time.
I think they're done. That
they are.
If he doesn't play another snap this year, it won't surprise me.
But then
you're right.
And unexplained, inactive for Hayden Hurst, that came out of nowhere.
That was concussion protocol.
It was very. It was hit under
frustrated.
the rug.
I think he's frustrated, though. I think a lot of that is his frustration on his part too. He was brought
Hayden Hurst
here to be the
absolutely.
number 1 tight end.
They grossly misused Hayden Hurst.
Right, there's a lot of guys' careers that have been affected by coming here. Like Miles Sanders' career is hanging in the balance. DJ Chark hanging in the balance. Hayden Hurst hanging in the balance. But like none of these guys, all of these guys came into this coming off of years where they were productive. They were looking to probably take that next step forward in their careers and have an opportunity to be the guy at that position in this place. And it's not worked out in the slightest.
But you say that we've done this in terms of like we ruin these careers or we misuse these people. I think we've given more often than not in the last few years guys the guys that we haven't re-signed, giving them better chances to go off somewhere. I mean, Hassan Reddick was going to play for a crap organization and then playing for a Super Bowl 10 months later. Stephon Gilmore is still on a top 10, top 5 defense in the NFL. You look at some of the other guys that now, I mean, obviously, TJ Ford, Donta Foreman. I mean, hell, PJ Walker.
Just to let everybody know, I mean, DJ Moore's on pace to he's outpacing his career totals here in Carolina and in Chicago this year, with having to play with Tyson Badger for like 4 or 5
Donta Foreman was a contributing factor in that game. He had a touchdown coming off of it. Like, I think it's more people that like are saying, "Thank God we got out of this sinking ship and got to another spot."
You saw how DJ Moore gave Brian Burns that big hug and that snicker, right? That wasn't a snicker. Hey, buddy, how you doing? That was, boy, it's so much better when you get up out of there.
I mean, he said it from the beginning and talking about the beat reporters and the media. You know, it feels different. Like there's a lot more eyes on us here. And I mean, yeah, obviously it's Chicago, but there's got to be a difference in terms of the fan bases and the market that you're in. But that's where it is upsetting. I will say though, there's one guy that's on my it list, and that's Mingo. I like you're getting with the.
He's a rookie though. He's a rookie. He's a rookie.
Trying to be patient.
I mean, we don't have time to be patient. You're right.
I'm gonna say AJ Brown was a rookie. DK Metcalf was a rookie. They weren't running routes like this.
Yeah, Mingo.
Tank Dell's a rookie.
But we knew Mingo was a project.
I wasn't under the impression. I wasn't under the impression he was a project. I was under the impression that he was supposed to be our big play guy.
He wasn't a big play guy at Ole Miss. He wasn't a big play guy at Ole Miss.
That was my whole issue. I'm like, well, he wasn't
a big play guy at Ole Miss.
But I don't think he was a project.
Oh yes, he was.
I mean, a project as far as this freaking offense.
Put like this. When you go back and look at Mingo's tape, what route do you see that's like, ooh, that was crazy?
That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah, like Tank Dell. Hey, there's a hole. I can go through Tank Dell's tape at Alabama A&M and say, damn, he giving them the business. He giving them that work.
I agree with you.
Zay Flowers, same thing.
Marvin Mims, but I'm like.
So Jack, I will say we have every right to be upset at Mingo because as a rookie, you would think he would want to have the fire to be that guy. But when you come into this situation where your quarterback's on his back more times than he's standing up, where you're in a locker room full of, to your point, a silent locker room, right? Like think about the work environment that he's dealing with. The same with Bryce. The work environment, it means a lot. It means a whole, especially to these young guys. And Bryce has to come in with a smile on his face every day. Well, I'm pretty sure before he gets out of that car, he's cussing up a storm to get in the building. You know what I mean? So to me, I would bear to bet, Lord, please grant us this for Christmas, a new head coach and a new GM. I would bet you would probably get a different vibe from him. Right. Not necessarily an immediate impact player like we would like him to be, but I think you would get a different vibe in that he's learning, he's evolving every week. You see something different. You see him getting more comfortable. Right now, we're not seeing that from either one of our rookies. We're not. They're just coming in like, all right.
But see, at least Bryce.
We're going to be out here by 4.
But see, at least Bryce on the field is putting his all out there and trying like Jonathan. That pick 6 was Jonathan Mingo's fault.
It was both.
Oh yeah, it was.
It was a mix of both. It's Mingo. You can't drift upfield on a drag.
That's like the whole thing.
You gave him the lane to undercut. And
this is the second time that we've had a concern with him about simple metrics of a route. We talked about it on the fade route, and he was jogging at the top of the fade route. So you're a wide receiver that isn't doing what he's supposed to do in his own route.
I think the issue is, at least even with Bryce, even with some critiques I would have about Bryce, and Greg said it, like, fam, we can't throw anything outside the numbers. Anything outside the numbers vertically, like, we can't throw
it past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, Bryce is missing anything outside the numbers, I'll be honest. Whether he's missing or they're just not open.
Yeah.
It's kind of either one of the two. But
he don't have the time.
He doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the time. And, like, even the 17-play drive, like, you know how, like, impossible it is to have to put together a 17-play drive.
3 fourth-down conversions, and it was brutal too. Like
it's awful. Like you wouldn't expect to have a rookie have to play damn near perfect in order for you to get any type of production.
Exactly.
And that's what we're having to rely on. And it's just not a sustainable situation. I mean, we all know it. We don't have to really.
So here's my question to the both of you before we break for turkey.
Yeah.
Here's my question to both of you.
Don't you dare ask me what I'm thankful for.
Hell no. I'm gonna ask you the real thankful question, the grateful question. All right, give me your top 2 coaching prospects you would like to see come in. Not GMs. GMs is hard because I started looking today. I saw a couple of names, but I'm only familiar with like 1 or 2 of them. So I want to really do my due diligence on the GMs. But if you could have the chance to kind of talk to somebody right now, like if you said, they said tomorrow, give me 2 people you want us to go out and talk to, who would it be?
Well, off rip, Ben Johnson's. I would think that's the name
You
for all
think so?
of us.
Yeah, yeah.
You think so?
If you can convince
Okay,
him,
I'm asking.
If you can convince him to actually come into the building,
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot.
I don't think he's going to leave Detroit. I don't think he's going to leave Detroit, but yeah.
I didn't think so, and I don't think he would have last year because he was leaving for essentially would have been the same kind of talent pool that he was already there with in Detroit that was working a lot better in terms of the quarterback we had, the running backs we had, the system we were running. He had that much better in Detroit, so why would you leave? I'll say that we talked about the guys that are smacking their lips over Bryce Young and what they might be able to do with him. Ben Johnson would probably be on that top 3 of the guys that say, okay, this is an intriguing and interesting prospect. I think for me, and I don't understand how it has been something we've passed up continuously and done so continuously, and I think now we might be screwed because he might have found himself a spot where Rivera's probably going to be out the door by the end of the season, if not. Bieniemy's my number 1 guy, I think. I mean, if there's anyone that can turn Bryce Young into the guy he's supposed to be in the NFL and really bring the best out of him, he was doing it with Mahomes. Mahomes is not a, he's got the physical attributes a bit more than Bryce Young, obviously, but he didn't play in that same way. He can get Bryce out of his shell. He can make Bryce feel a lot more confident. And the biggest thing is doing so with less than ideal wide receivers. Yep. I mean, the only guy that he's ever really had is Tyreek Hill and, of course, Travis Kelce, but he was able to make a lot more of these guys look a lot better than they were with the scheme he was running, especially with running back. He was pushing no-name running backs through the woodwork to get into Pro Bowl stature as an offensive coordinator. So
that would have to be the top 2 because I think, especially like from a style perspective, it's probably like what the type of player we've seen Bryce Young be in college. Him working with Eric B would work. Low turnovers, good decision maker.
On top of that, I would go further and try to pull off of something like they did in Tampa Bay. I would do everything in my power to try to keep Avero as well as your defensive coordinator. And then I would honestly keep Thomas Brown with Eric Bieniemy, have Bieniemy calling the majority of the play calls with Thomas Brown learning from him in the wings to then, like he should have been doing with Frank Reich, to then eventually take over the play calling in a year or 2.
Oh my goodness. I'm a
what about you? What about you, JB? What are your 2?
I'm a lie. I mean, I was thinking you guys were going to come out of the woodworks. I also like the OC down in Miami. I can't think of his name right now. The guy, I believe, Mike McDaniels. His name is skipping me right now.
But see, that's the problem, JB. Is you can't really afford to go out of the woodwork because if you mess this up again, and you go for an outside the lines guy,
the next guy you gotta roll with. You just kind of gotta vet this.
I know, but if it tanks, then you're having selling the team conversations.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think the next coach coming in is, unless you elevate Avero to head coach, I think the next coach is coming in, he's going to clean house.
Yeah, that's true.
Period.
Oh, he should. But I'm saying I'm not talking about offensive coordinator. I'm saying the next head coach you get. You can't fail on a head coach again.
The OC is Frank Smith.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah, him. Yeah, him. I like him. So those are like where I'm at right now. Really, I'm more concerned with the GM position because they're the one that signs the checks. They're the ones that are knee deep in the scouting rooms, and that's my fear is we haven't been good at scouting since Paulie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be 1,000% honest on that. And for me, that's the biggest issue in that we have not been able to evaluate talent good enough to surround our organization with staples since the likes of Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton, Greg Olson's of the world, and it's really doing a disservice to this fan base. I mean, even when we did go 1-15, we still played competitive back in the day. Right. We look right now, it is just not even fun to watch.
Yeah, but see,
I mean, literally on Sundays, I'm not excited. I go to my son's soccer tournaments. I got a Vikings fan. I got one other Panthers fan, believe it or not. I got a Cowboys fan, a bunch of Commanders fans. But me and the other Panthers guy, he's saying the same thing. He's like, I have no idea what has happened. And he's not even from Charlotte. So, I mean, that's a good thing. Like, we got a Panthers fan that's not even from the city, and he's just as disgusted as we are. So I think that's where I'm leaning more towards. Me personally, the head coach will come. I need the GM to be solid. We need a solid GM.
That's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
A forward thinker, a young thinker, an innovator. Keep Tepper at bay as much as he can as far as doing his job the way he's supposed to. And don't just try to do the Federer and patch thing and bring in a tie name or somebody try to be a cost cut, trying to get a Family Dollar deal. Like let's truly go spend some money. Let's really bring in some talent, especially because right now, the way it's looking, Bryce Young may last 3 years.
That's what I'm saying.
The way it's looking as of today, if you'd have asked me right now, and I hate to say it, I want Bryce Young to have a long career. He may last 3 years. The way we're playing right now.
I mean, I see the same kind of look in his eyes that we would see from Luke Kuechly at the end of games, the dejected, towards the end of his season or end of his career. And you could get into a situation where, like, it's not, without reason or without, belief to say that you could see him, like, he could go up and retire. Be like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. This isn't my thing. And it would be really sad, obviously, and I don't think it would actually happen, but I would not be necessarily surprised.
I hope we can salvage. I hope we do a good job of keeping his career afloat until we can right the ship. That's the only thing I can hope. I mean, next year you just gotta simply hope for better than this. I don't even know what better look. I don't know what better looks like for this group, but it's better than this.
Because that's what we were hoping for, like DJ Moore. We just hope he can get a consistent quarterback. We hope we can get him, an adept play caller. We kept hoping, and he held out for as long as he could. Literally, it wasn't even his choice to leave.
Right.
And that's what makes it even worse. So I think you're in that same situation now. And I mean, like this Titans game. I mean, you actually have your best chance at probably your only other win of the season. In this Titan game, yeah.
Will Levis is going to throw for 150 yards. Derrick Henry is going to get 120. We're going to lose by 14. We're only going to score 3 points.
If that happens, they should
mark
not.
My words.
They should not.
Mark my words.
If that were to happen, Reich and Fitterer should not be let back on the plane. Yeah. I honestly and truthfully, I'm not.
Watch what I tell you. Will Levis has got a chip on his shoulder, especially with the Carolina Panthers, and he's going to come out and he's going to try to show out.
Oh, do you have a chip against?
I'm here to tell you.
We didn't draft him. We traded up. He was going to be the one that probably would have fallen to us.
Well, hell, everybody missed.
I know. We've gone over. We've gone over. We've gone.
No,
what
I'm saying though. Look, C.J. Stroud came to play.
Right.
He played us.
Yeah.
We didn't see Anthony Richardson. I was scared to see what Anthony Richardson was going to do to us.
I absolutely was too.
We didn't see him.
We didn't see Anthony Richardson. I knew
we didn't see him.
I knew he was going to gift me a pick. I was.
He made it.
We didn't know how big Gardner Minshew.
He would have ran. He would have ran for 100 yards. He would have ran for 100 yards.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson would have been.
That's about it.
Anthony Richardson would have been Cam Newton.
That boy shoulder weak, man. I ain't worried about it.
Anthony Richardson would have been Cam Newton to us. Straight up.
Tyson Bagent, yes. Kind of, but not really. But Justin Fields, not a chip on the shoulder, but the Bears would have had the chip on their shoulder. Tyson Bagent, I don't really think had a chip on his shoulder. He was just trying to win ball games, so I don't put that against him. But he doesn't have
Justin Fields and DJ Moore.
But that would have been a different story. But Will Levis does have a perennial kind of chip on his shoulder, just in the fact that he was in that market. They obviously were talking to him towards the very end, so he was concluding that conversation. So I see what JB is saying, and this is coming from anyone who's listened to the podcast for since the beginning knows I have a soft spot for the Titans. If we lose to that score margin to the Titans, anything more than 3 points, to be completely honest. And if you can't score a touchdown against the Tennessee Titans, then yeah, you don't deserve to get back on the plane. Yeah. And like I said, I got a soft spot for the Tennessee Titans. If it's 14 to 3,
40 ounce of OE. I bet you a 40 ounce of OE that we don't get an offensive touchdown.
It was one thing to not do it against the Bears. It was actually still brutal against the Bears. I'm surprised they made it on the plane. But if you do it against the Titans 2 times in the last, twice in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, there's your papers right there.
We don't get offensive touchdown. I mean, that's how I feel about this offense. That's how I feel about this offense. We're not gonna score offensive touchdown.
Be honest, man.
I will tell you this though. Nobody can tell me different. This is the lowest this organization has been. Yeah. Only way it is up. I don't think even in the Matt Fool era, we weren't this low. Even when we were 1-1-15, we weren't this low. And I think it has a lot to do with ownership. It has a lot to do with upper management. And it definitely 1,000% has a lot to do with the coaching. I'm very disappointed in the coaching staff that we thought that we had amassed. Bryce Young hanging there, man. Please don't think that this is how we want you to have your career in the Carolinas. Because trust me, the fan base wants you to be much more successful than it seems the freaking coaching staff does. I was about to say another word, but I had caught myself before I said it. And I just want us to get back to some sort of competitiveness, right? Because right now, everybody looks at us as the mighty midgets. And they can just, there's a W. There's one W on our calendar. They're going to help us get in the playoffs. We're going to get a wild card game because of these guys. Like, that's who we are. That's who we've become. So, I got nothing else left to say other than, that's where we are. We're kind of like leftovers the second week after Thanksgiving. Like, they're not good. I don't know what else to say.
That's fine.
Close us out, JB.
Hey.
That was a close.
There it is. Keep pounding, question mark? Like an end of an 80s sci-fi movie. Keep pounding, question mark? Maybe? All right, we're done. Wrap it. I'm about to walk off the set. I'm serious. There's no way. Like, there's no good way to end it. I mean, it's...